This video is sponsored by Manscaped. The holidays are finally upon us, and if you're looking for the perfect gift for that particularly hairy friend or family member, then look no further than today's sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped have leveled up their game in a big way with their all-new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. This bad boy comes with a bunch of goodies, including the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which includes a nifty little LED light and enhanced battery life. I like that the travel lock button is separate from the power button, so I'm less likely to lock or unlock it on accident. You also get your very own Manscaped Weed Whacker 2.0 to clean out those pesky nose hairs, as well as the Manscaped Crop Soother and Crop Preserver to level up your grooming. Plus, along with this package, Manscaped will send you over a pair of their boxers and a travel bag as a little holiday treat. So if you want to get in on this deal, you can head over to manscaped.com/cosmonaut and use code Cosmonaut to get 20% off, plus free international shipping at checkout. Again, that's manscaped.com/cosmonaut. And of course, I'd like to thank Manscaped for sponsoring this video. That's right, as promised, for this year's Ultimate Review, we are watching Batman. Now, of course, there are a lot of Batman movies, so you may be wondering which ones we're going to cover. The rules are very simple. If it came out in theaters and it features Batman as the main character, it's on the list. And the only movies I'm not talking about are Batman v Superman and Joss Whedon's cut of Justice League, because I already made videos on those.
But Marcus, you technically never reviewed Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah, I did. Now, of course, Batman is my second favorite superhero, so I have a particular investment into the character. Batman was the first comic series I ever got invested in. I've already talked about him at length in other videos before, and I feel very strongly about the character and how he's portrayed. And as America's second favorite superhero, Batman has a metric ass ton of movies. We have like an actual dozen movies to cover, so as usual, we're gonna cover them in multiple videos. For this first video, we're gonna cover the silly movies, starting with this is the first Batman movie released in theaters, known simply as Batman, or Batman the Movie, or Batman 66, or Batman for the first time on the motion picture screen in color.
Nice.
The movie starts with a few messages to the audience. Wish to express gratitude to the enemies of crime. What, you mean cops? Boo. Oh wait, they also want to thank lovers of adventure. I love adventure. Yeah! I really do love this little message they put here. I bet if all the MCU movies opened with this, people would probably go back to watching them. So anyway, this movie's based on the TV show of the same name. Now, reruns of this show would be on TV whenever I was homesick, and I did not like it. When I was a young Bat fan, I was really into the animated series and Batman Beyond and Justice League, and I thought this shit sucked. But now, I'm an adult, so I can truly appreciate when something is stupid on purpose. And as big of a Bat fan as I am, I've never seen this movie, so I'm particularly excited. I love these opening titles, by the way. Back in the 60s, people were seriously walking around with the name Burt. Times were different back then. Nowadays, I don't think it's possible to make it in Hollywood with the name Burgess Meredith. Wait a minute, his name was Oliver? You made your stage name Burgess? See, Nelson Riddle has the right idea. That's the kind of name you need if you're gonna work on a Batman movie. Wait a minute, that's his real name? Alright, I gotta stop looking these up. Now, I thought maybe these opening credits would show me something cool, like Batman fighting crime or looking into the camera or something. But weirdly enough, it's just one guy running around. Yeah, no, that's really it. I'm not kidding. I don't even know who this guy is. He's not in the movie, but damn. That white boy can run. So this movie starts with Bruce and Dick getting an urgent call and peeling the fuck down the highway to return to Wayne Manor, which is honestly so charming in this movie. Like nowadays, Wayne Manor's either destroyed completely or it looks like fucking Dracula's castle. You're telling me that people don't know who Batman is, and at the same time, Bruce Wayne, who is never seen at nighttime, lives in a place that looks like this.
That's suspicious.
So in this opening scene, Batman and Robin drive down the highway to get home. They go downstairs down this little pole thingy. They get in a new car. Then they drive to the airport. They get in a helicopter so they can fly to the ocean to get to a boat. I gotta say, They just don't make them like this anymore. It's very interesting seeing this version of Batman when we've spent decades with the modern, dark, and edgy Batman. Like, the idea that Batman has to go home and then go to the airport to pick up his helicopter, it's kind of ridiculous to think about now. But back in the 60s, people were like, yeah, why would he have a helicopter at his house? That doesn't make any sense. And you know what? You're right. I can't argue with that.
Drop bat ladder.
Bat ladder away.
Man, see, I don't think we need to call it the bat ladder. It's just a regular ladder. Oh no, that's a bat ladder. I'm sorry, this movie's airtight. It might be too smart for me. So Batman and Robin have to like go save a yacht or something. But then the yacht mysteriously disappears, leaving Batman with a cute little shark to contend with. Damn girl, that coochie can squirt.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
It should now be apparent to everybody in the audience that this movie is probably one of the best absurdist comedies featuring a superhero. But the thing is that the humor is hitting differently now than it did back then. Like, the people making this movie definitely knew exactly what kind of movie they were making, and it leads to the most hilariously stupid story you will see Batman be a part of. One of the best running jokes in this movie is how the characters solve mysteries with the most insane leaps of logic possible.
Pretty fishy what happened to me on that ladder.
You mean where there's a fish, there could be a penguin?
But wait, it happened at sea. See? C for Catwoman.
And like, the villains in this movie aren't even that evil. They're just kind of annoying. They're like little troublemakers. They teleport away this whole yacht and kidnap the captain, and then they just kind of treat him really well. Like, the Joker's giving him tea and just being a really nice guy. This movie is so insanely unfaithful to every character that it comes back around and becomes a masterpiece. Like, who am I to say this movie's inaccurate? That's like saying the Harley Quinn show is inaccurate. Like, yeah, it is, but that's what makes it good. And there's really not a lot to talk about with this movie because, as I said in the opening, it's just trying to be silly, wacky fun. The goal here is to give Batman silly scenarios to work through. So all I can do is judge the movie on if it's funny enough to keep my attention. And the answer is, yeah, it's pretty funny, for the most part. To start, Adam West's performance is perfect for this movie. His comedic timing is on point. He plays all of these ridiculous scenarios so straight that it makes everything funnier than it has any right to be.
Listen to these riddles. Tell me if you interpret them as I do. 1. What has yellow skin and writes?
A ballpoint banana.
Right.
However, the scenes with the villains aren't really that interesting or funny. This movie's at its worst when it's trying to follow a narrative and tell a story, and the villains are strangely very normal and uninteresting when compared to Batman and Robin. Though I do love that Cesar Romero would not shave his mustache for this movie. Now that I think about it, that's not the only time this happens in a Batman movie. But we're not doing that one, I mean it. The middle chunk of this movie is also pretty lame. Catwoman goes undercover to date Bruce Wayne, and the only funny part of this whole subplot is that Alfred's wearing a little stupid mask to try to hide his identity. Even Joker has a stupid mask on. Like, dude, we know who you are. This movie's just way more interesting when it isn't being a real movie. Later on, Penguin devises a plot that is just absolutely dastardly. He takes 5 goons, conveniently numbered 1 through 5, zaps them with a laser that removes all the water from their bodies, turning them into small piles of dust, which the Penguin then puts into tiny little vials. Then the Penguin disguises as a guy who looks just like the Penguin, so that when he approaches Batman and Robin, they'll be like, huh, you're obviously the Penguin. We must take you to the Batcave to prove it. Then they have to take him to the cave because for some reason that's the only place where they can prove he is the Penguin. And while he's in there, he pours water on the goon dust to rehydrate them and turn them back into regular people who can kill Batman and Robin. I'm telling you, they just don't make them like this anymore. One of the unintentionally funny bits in this movie is how they constantly try to teach us lessons. Anybody who's not an upright, perfect member of society is criticized at least a little bit by Batman and Robin.
They're used to curious sights, which they attribute to alcoholic delusions.
Gosh, drink is sure a filthy thing, isn't it? I'd rather be dead than unable to trust my own eyes. You risked your life to save that riffraff in the bar?
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
However, the best sequence in this movie is definitely the bomb sequence. It's a comedic setup that's always funny. It's really impressive how well all of this humor is aged. And I do think it's probably funnier now in this post-Adult Swim world where absurdist, wacky shit like this is more common. And while this film isn't fully entertaining all of the time, I think it's perfect for those who like to watch insane-ass movies while under the influence. I personally consider this to be a great honor for any film. And as such, I'm gonna give Batman 66, I don't know what number to give it. I'm honestly kind of stumped on this one. Oh well, when in doubt, give it a 7 out of 10. Oh, but we aren't done yet. For this video, we're gonna do things a little differently. I'm gonna add another score to each movie just to spice things up a little bit. Along with the regular score that each movie's gonna get, I'm gonna rank Batman himself on a tier list. I'm ranking each Batman on some very specific criteria. He has to not only be a good Batman, but a good Bruce Wayne as well. And his role has to make sense in the context of the story. A bad movie can have a good Batman, and a good movie can have a bad Batman. Oh, and most importantly, a good Batman cannot kill. Almost every single one of the Batmen in these movies kills someone, so this is going to be a tough one, but I'm sticking to it. So how is Adam West's Batman? Well, I hate to say it, but I can't really rank him that high. He's hardly a character in this movie, so it isn't fair to compare him to modern iterations of the character. I mean, the way Batman beats the villains in this movie is by attacking them with a rocket launcher, so I can't really judge him on the same merits as everybody else. But in the context of this world, he does fit very well. He definitely feels appropriate for this universe, and for those reasons, I would normally place him at a respectable rank. However, it all gets ruined by the fact that Batman does kill people in this movie.
I'll kill you all. I'll rend you limb from limb.
He not only kills the rehydrated goons that I mentioned earlier, he kills them so hard that they are reduced to antimatter.
The slightest impact was sufficient to instantly reduce them to antimatter.
You mean they won't be coming back?
No, Robin. Not in this universe.
That was really bad.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think Adam West might be the only Batman that is exempt from the no-kill rule. Back then, you probably could go to a comic book store, walk up to the shelf, and pick up an issue where Batman kills somebody. So just this once, he's off the hook. And I'm gonna go ahead and put Adam West in the B tier. Now, Batman movies took a break after Batman came out, and the next Batman to release after Batman was Batman. Now, I feel like every few videos I end up saying, this movie's really what started superhero movies. I said it with Spider-Man, and then I said it with X-Men, and then I said it with Blade, but this time I mean it, alright? Superhero movies straight up were not cool when this came out. Except, I guess Superman also existed? So when I go and review all of those movies, I'm gonna have to say the same thing again. But really though, Batman '89 was insanely popular. I cannot express how well this movie did.
Unlike the TV series, which took a campy look at the dynamic duo, the movie promises to stick closer to the comic book version, which takes the Cape Crusader very seriously.
It's really no surprise when a Batman movie does well now, but I can't imagine being a normal person back in 1989, not giving a fuck about superheroes, and watching this. I think my brain would have melted.
And what was your favorite part of the whole trailer?
When Michael Keaton comes in and says, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
And just look at this poster. With all of the context of the time that this movie came out, this might be the coolest superhero movie poster ever. No words, just the logo. It's like the poster is saying, oh yeah, you know who this is about. And now, even as much of a Batman fan as I am, I still, say it with me, haven't seen this movie. I remember bits and pieces. I've probably caught half of it on TV a few times. I know the general plot, but the fine details are muddy. And if you're wondering how I could claim to be such a fan of the character without being familiar with this movie, well, it's actually quite simple. You see, I don't like Tim Burton. He makes shit movies, he's racist, and worst of all, he's ugly. But I will still go into this movie as unbiased as possible. And I will also say that after the silly and very un-Batman-y movie that we just watched, I'm already feeling a little something when I hear the iconic Danny Elfman Batman theme.
This motherfucker don't miss.
Also, it's worth noting that while I don't like old Tim Burton, this art direction does go hard. Nowadays, Gotham is always represented as ugly New York or normal Chicago. Honestly, fuck that. Make Gotham look impossible. Make it look like a steel monstrosity. Gotham City should look exactly like Koopa City from the old Mario movie. And I mean that, I'm not joking. In just a few minutes, we see that Gotham is steamy, ugly, overrun by homeless people who look like Toad from X-Men, and prostitutes that proposition children for sex. This is a city that needs the Batman. And Batman's first scene is pretty effective. I really like that the first time we see him, he's a cartoon silhouette. I think that's kind of cute. I like that. His first scene is also appropriately imposing. It gives us a vibe for how intimidating and cool Batman can be. And again, if you watch this with the context of never watching any superhero movies, not really knowing much about Batman, then this is really effective at showing us who he is and what his deal is. And I'm gonna spoil it for you right now. The other Batman movies from this era do not capture this element very well, so enjoy it while it lasts. Now, one thing I do like is that this movie takes time in establishing the status quo of Gotham. Our first scene shows us that Gotham is a shithole, and it shows us Batman kicking some ass. Then we see the politics of Gotham, as well as a few scenes to establish the villain. There's actually a fair amount of setup before we even see Bruce Wayne for the first time. And when we do see him, I gotta say, Keaton makes a mean Bruce Wayne. And for some reason, back in the 80s, people thought he was sexy.
How do you think Michael Keaton's gonna be as Batman?
Sexy. Very sexy. Oh, he's just a gorgeous guy. He has great legs and everything.
I mean, he's not an ugly man, but I don't know if I'd use the word sexy. See, I'm very particular on how Bruce Wayne is portrayed, but Keaton's really good at making Bruce smooth and likable. And honestly, I found myself being sufficiently invested in his scenes while he's Bruce as opposed to him as Batman. Also, this is the one on-screen Bruce that has the most charisma. And one thing that I usually don't like is when Batman has a strong focus on his love interest. And unfortunately for me, this is in every single one of these early movies. I guess they just didn't think people would be invested in Batman if he didn't want to fuck anybody. This is very much a personal thing, but I really do think Batman is best when he's asexual. I've just never seen a Batman romance that I've liked. But for now, I will say that this is the only Batman that I can accept having a little romance in his life. Because he's so fucking smooth, I think I might be falling for him.
Do you like eating in here?
You wanna know the truth? I don't think I've ever been in this room before. Do you want to get out of here?
Alright, maybe he's a little sexy. However, while I like his Bruce Wayne, Keaton's Batman is not my favorite. One thing that I really can't get over in these early movies is that Batman can't move his fucking neck. Like, yeah, this costume strikes an appropriately intimidating silhouette, but in motion, it just looks goofy. He looks so fucking cool until he has to turn around. Then he looks like a fucking South Park character. He looks like a Muppet. This guy is seriously stiffer than Lego Batman, and this reduces his cool factor by a lot. Outside of the opening scene, I can't really say that this Batman is that cool, but he is trying. It's just that he always looks so uncomfortable. His voice isn't that cool. His fight scenes are okay. They're certainly better than the fight scenes in the sequels. But honestly, when I think about cool, badass action heroes from the same era, he really doesn't reach that level. I should also mention that unfortunately for all of us, this Batman does kill people. Batman is not the only star of the show. This movie, of course, features Jack Nicholson as the Joker, baby. Now, this is one situation where I can say that this is not a comic-accurate version of the character, but I don't really care, because I think it works here. Like, personally, I prefer when we don't see Joker as a normal guy. I prefer if he isn't the guy that kills Batman's parents. But in the context of this movie, I think it works just fine. Because again, I'm really trying to watch this movie with the mindset of someone who is living in 1989 and doesn't know shit about Batman. Because that's who this movie is aimed at. And under that context, I think he's a very effective villain. He's the only person in the movie who has charisma that matches and even surpasses Michael Keaton. And he's honestly kind of terrifying. And he's a little bit silly. I like when Joker can be a little silly. You gotta get you a Joker that kills people and also dances to Prince. There are a lot of moments in this movie where this guy is more chaotic in his performance than Heath Ledger is.
Remember, you are my number one guy.
This is an extremely dangerous individual. Now, I will say that watching this movie with the mindset of when it came out does make it a lot better, but if you don't do that, I think I have to say, this movie's a little mid. Because on paper, it probably is the most standard Batman story. The Joker appears, he uses Joker toxin on people, he does some crime, Batman has to stop him. Most of the story focuses on drip-feeding Batman's backstory and motivations to us, and as someone living in the year 2023, it is literally impossible for me not to know Batman's backstory. Honestly, you could go to a village in Africa where the people living there have never seen any technology, and they'll still look at you and say, oh yeah, Batman's parents were killed by Joe Chill in Crime Alley. This is now common knowledge to most people, and a lot of the movie is devoted to teaching us what I would now consider very obvious stuff. In this movie, it's legitimately a mystery why Batman is like this. So again, if you watch it and make believe that you're seeing all of this for the first time, it is presented very well. If my only experience with the character of Batman is this guy, then this dark mystery is actually kind of compelling. If my only experience with the Joker was the dude with the fucking mustache, I would be chilled to the bone when you show me this dude. So really, your mileage may vary here. Personally, I enjoy watching movies with this mindset whenever I can, but when you compare this to some of the other movies on this list, you may find that this Batman narrative is pretty standard fare. You can honestly predict the events of this movie after watching it for about 10 minutes. So overall, putting myself in the mindset of a little kid watching this in 1989 definitely saves this movie for me. But I can't deny that without that framework, the movie's just okay. But it does get points for its cultural significance. Now, normally at this point, I would rate Michael Keaton's take on the character of Batman, but we have another Michael Keaton movie, so I'll wait to rate his Batman until we finish the next one. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and give Batman 89 a 7.5 out of 10. First of all, I gotta say, I like the title, alright? It's straight to the point. Like, remember Batman? He's back. Secondly, Gotham City looked cool in the last movie, but now it looks fucking sick. Like, if this place existed, I would want to live here. I would make living here my entire personality. I don't give a fuck about the crime rate. I'll deal with that. I can get like a Ring doorbell or something. Now, this Batman movie seems to think that one villain isn't enough anymore. Joker can carry a story all on his own, but now we're gonna need more characters. Starting with Catwoman. Now, I am going to have to dock points for this movie creating a version of Catwoman that would later go on to directly inspire Catwoman 2004. Anything that inspires that film must be bad for society. It's weird that both of these movies have the exact same approach to the character. She starts off as a girl that I could fix and turns into a woman who could fix me.
Whoa! She looks special.
We also have Penguin, who is less of a sleazy mobster and more of a mischievous goblin.
I can state without a doubt that it's an actual goblin.
Between Catwoman being some sort of ghost or zombie that was resurrected by magical cats, and Penguin being crime boss Rumpelstiltskin, this movie takes a very fairy tale approach to the Batman universe. And it's decisions like this where I feel like Burton really wasn't interested in making a Batman story that anybody but him would like. On one hand, I respect that. But on the other hand, I don't like Tim Burton, so fuck him. Yeah, I said I'd watch the last one as unbiased as possible, but this one feels way too Burton-y to ignore. It's kind of weird that there's no brown people in this one, Tim. I forgot. Of course, colored people don't fit your aesthetic for Gotham City. Oh, sorry, of course, the criminals are brown, duh. But to prove that Tim Burton really doesn't want to make a Batman movie, we could just look at the shocking lack of Batman. This movie seems confused with how it wants to include Batman into the story most of the time. The plot begins with a flashback showing us Penguin's parents as they throw him in the garbage.
I'm the trash man.
Then in the modern day, Penguin emerges and tries to stage a PR campaign to win the city's favor. Also, Catwoman's like doing stuff.
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
But the thing is, Batman doesn't really seem like he has much of a reason to get involved in Penguin's story at first. Now yes, it makes sense for him to fight Penguin's goons in the beginning of the movie. This is his jurisdiction. Even though he is fucking killing people! But then, when Penguin starts his PR campaign, it makes no sense for Batman to be interested in this story. Batman doesn't know that these henchmen belong to the Penguin. He doesn't know that these stories are connected at all. From everybody else's perspective, Penguin hasn't fucking done anything wrong yet. He just looks weird. But really, my main problem with this is that they're trying to build intrigue around Christopher Walken's character. A man who's literally named Shrek.
Somebody.
A character that is exclusive to this film. A character who pales in comparison to every other Batman villain in any other movie. Why is the Tim Burton OC character such a big part of this plot? You have a wealth of options when it comes to the villain for a Batman movie. Why would you decide on making the main villain a normal guy? He's not even an interesting character. Walken is doing the most normal performance he's ever done. This could have been any actor. Burton could have just made a movie where Batman goes up against, I don't know, the fucking Penguin! But no, a significant portion of this movie is just Bruce Wayne simping for Catwoman and Penguin staging his campaign for mayor. It's surprisingly boring.
Then think of you.
Oswald Cobblepot filling the void. I'd like to fill her void.
Oh my god! I thought this was a classy party.
Eventually, Penguin gets his gang to start blowing shit up, so Batman does have a reason to exist. But it really just feels like an excuse for Batman to exist. I don't actually know why Penguin even has a gang. He honestly had a really good chance of becoming mayor if he just played it straight. And his plan for becoming mayor involves sending the goons to ravage the city so that he can blame the current mayor for not fixing the crime problem in Gotham. Honestly, if that's all it took to be elected mayor of Gotham City, I think anybody could pull that off. But whatever, I guess Batman needs people to punch. Otherwise, we get scenes like this. And everything in this movie is just kind of a little awkward. Conversations are paced like David Lynch wrote them.
What do you want? Ah, the direct approach. I admire that in a man with a mask.
Line. There's some Batman actors that can pull off the silent, stoic Batman, and I don't think Keaton is that guy. It always feels like he's standing around waiting for someone to compliment him on how cool he looks. Everybody in this movie is just so stiff. There's a distinct lack of energy that kind of makes everything a bit boring. And it's kind of disappointing because the art direction is so good that I was hoping the movie would also be a lot more fun.
Just the pussy I've been looking for.
I don't think I'm old enough to watch this.
Naked, sexual charisma.
Okay, I take it back. This creature is evil. Batman, just this once, you have my permission to kill this guy. Thank you, Batman. I knew I could depend on you. I honestly don't really think I like this movie. I don't think it's bad, it's not on the worst superhero movies list, but I'm kinda not a fan. Definitely a case of style over substance, if you ask me. And I know people like this one, but I'm sorry. I think my hatred for Tim Burton's a little too strong for me to give an unbiased opinion. The plot of the last movie was already kinda weak, but it worked in the context of when that movie came out. But somehow, this is actually worse. I think this story would have been more interesting if Penguin did successfully turn Gotham against Batman and become the mayor. Like, that's what the movie tries to set up, but Batman foils the plot so easily that it feels like a waste of time. And a lot of time gets devoted to Mayor Penguin. So it really just feels like kind of a letdown. I was also not particularly invested in the Bruce and Selina love story. It takes up a big portion of the narrative, and I just wasn't really buying it. His only reason for liking her is that she's hot, and honestly, I can't blame him. I need her so bad, bro. I need her. She can fix me, bro. Now, I don't even hate that that's his only reason for liking her. Most of the time, Selina reels Bruce in with a very film noir, femme fatale approach. But it works best when Batman is trying to resist her charms. He should be torn between his attraction to her and his duty as Batman. That's like the bare minimum. But here, Bruce is literally stumbling over her. He is down bad. And it just makes him seem less cool. He's just not respecting the Sigma male grind set. At the end of the movie, he really lost me when he tried saying that him and Selena are one and the same. Like, no you aren't. You guys are nothing alike. You both put on masks and kick people. That's really all you have in common. Like, he's a regular guy for the most part, and she's some sort of undead ghoul of vengeance. Oh, and then, to top it all off, he takes off his fucking mask in front of the main villain to try to convince Selena to chill out. Like, bro is down horrendous. It's very disappointing, because I liked Bruce a lot in the last movie, so this is kind of a huge downgrade. The silver lining in this movie is that Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito are going hard as hell. Rent was due, and they got paid. But other than that, this movie ain't that good.
Somebody say fish? I haven't been fed all day.
Eat floor.
5 out of 10. Now it's time to rank Michael Keaton's take on Batman. This is the first Batman that I can fairly rate based on my very arbitrary list of rules, so let's break it all down. Now, like I said, he does get points for his Bruce Wayne, but I do have one issue with his Bruce that I didn't bring up yet. He's almost too normal. Like, I can't really see why this guy decided to be Batman. People in these movies keep saying, Bruce Wayne's crazy, he's fucking nuts.
Insane. Asylum.
But he's not. He's like the most normal guy in the whole story. And personally, I have a particular grievance with stories that try to say, oh, Batman, you're just as crazy as us, the murderers and lunatics. No, he's not. He's not normal, that's for sure, but he's definitely not on this level. And with all that said, I still think that Bruce Wayne can have a little edge to him. He can be a little bit of a freak. You have to strike a balance between the kind of obsessive nature of Bruce Wayne with his ironclad discipline and willpower. Obsession and discipline are key to the character. He needs obsessive discipline to continue this destructive lifestyle with no end and no reward in sight. That is what makes Batman crazy. Batman isn't crazy because he runs around dressed up as a bat. The Batman universe is a very unconventional world, so an unconventional solution like Batman isn't that unreasonable. What makes Batman crazy is that he is purely obsessed with nothing else other than his job. And while Keaton is a charming and smooth Bruce Wayne, he doesn't display that level of obsession. My ideal Bruce is a guy that on the outside seems chill and nice, but when you look in his eyes, you see that something's definitely not right about that guy. Keaton does get close, but he leans too heavily on the chill, normal guy approach. He's got his own thing, and that works for him, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for. And as for his Batman, well, he kinda sucks, I'm sorry. When the cowl is on, I have a completely new set of rules. First of all, he has to have a cool voice, which Keaton doesn't. It may seem like a shallow rule, but Batman being intimidating is literally part of the character. Batman has to sound imposing so he can be fucking scary. He also has to look cool. Batman's appearance in these movies is definitely a case of form over function for me. When he is lit and staged in the right way, he looks really good. But when he has to move around too much, it starts to look a little goofy. Part of this is also that he has to have cool tech. Now, this is the most subjective criteria and probably the least important. I'm fine with a story where Batman doesn't have anything but his wits and his fists. But if tech is involved in the story, it has to be cool and it has to fit Batman. I will say that I like Keaton's toys. His Batmobile is cool. It's still an actual fucking car while looking like something that Batman would drive. I also like his little jet plane. The fact that it's his logo is very stylish. That's just good design. I like that. And lastly, Batman has to kick ass. Now, this partly means that he literally has to have good fight scenes, but not every Batman story focuses on that, so this criteria has another part to it. Now, this is a little complicated, but hear me out. Batman is allowed to lose a fight here and there. That's how we have a story with conflict. But I don't like when he loses too easily or too often. You know how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson apparently has these rules in his contract where he always has to appear kind of badass, and he can't lose a fight in a movie too often. And at the end of the story, he has to at least mostly come out on top. And yeah, it's stupid as fuck, but that's kind of how I feel about Batman. What I mean to say is that Batman, at the very least, should always seem competent. If he's encountering a strange new enemy or threat for the first time, he's allowed to get overwhelmed or even lose. But only if he comes back later and wins. This also doesn't really count if we're seeing a Batman who's new to being Batman. In this case, he's allowed to be a little green behind the gills, but in any story where Batman is established and solidly doing his thing, he has to be competent. It's part of that obsessive discipline I talked about. Being good at everything is literally part of his character. To put it simply, Batman isn't allowed to suck. He has to be good at his job. Now, Keaton's Batman, for the most part, is usually the most competent person in whatever scene he's in. And this is good, especially when we compare him to other Batmen from this era. For the most part, he can handle himself. However, his fights aren't very cool. He just looks fucking stupid. He can't turn his neck. I can't get over this. Oh, and of course, we cannot forget the ultimate rule when judging any of the Batmen is, again, the fact that he cannot, under any circumstances, directly kill anyone. I'll define what I mean by directly when we get to later movies, but I'll say right now that I classify shooting an explosive tank and causing a man to blow up in a fiery ball of death as killing someone. Yes, that kills people, Zachary. And as I stated before, Keaton's Batman does kill people. Very directly. Kill you. That sentence should not be in Batman's vocabulary. As is tradition with these videos, I have to bring up the fact that I'm okay with you changing a character if it services a better story. But there's certain aspects of characters that you have to have a really good reason to change. Letting Batman kill whoever he wants means that you fundamentally do not understand the character. It's the same as if you had a Spider-Man who's really mean and yells at people all the time. And unfortunately, there isn't a good reason for this Batman to kill people. The only reason he kills so many people is because whoever wrote him didn't know he's not supposed to do that. So with all that in mind, I'm gonna give Keaton's Batman a C. Alright, so I really didn't vibe with that last movie. Wasn't really my jam. I think if Batman wants to go camp, it should go all the way, and Tim Burton simply lacked the courage to do so. So it pleases me to say that Batman Forever kinda rocks. The thing is, this movie isn't even that good, but after watching Batman Returns, this is kind of exactly what I wanted. And I think I maybe have a strange fondness for this movie, not because I grew up with it. Not exactly. See, I probably saw this once when I was like 5 years old. I don't remember shit about it, but I do remember a few very crucial things. Like the fact that I had that Batmobile. That was the only toy Batmobile that I owned, so in my mind, this was the quintessential Batmobile, because no matter where the Batman toy came from, this is the Batmobile that he rode in. As I was watching this movie, I realized I had so many Batman Forever toys. When I watched the opening scene of Batman suiting up and walking up to his Batmobile, it was like someone whispered my Winter Soldier code words into my ear and I just fucking activated. I remembered the black and green boxes they'd used for the action figures. I've never been hit with such a massive nostalgia spirit bomb quite like this. And let me tell you, it's a very strange feeling to have nostalgia for a movie that you've basically never seen. So maybe I'm crazy, but watching this movie was like unearthing lost memories. Memories I never had, but I should have had this whole time. See, I've never met Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, but he was my #1 bad guy action figure. See, when I was really little, my mom didn't let me have toys with guns. No Nerf guns, no action figures that shoot like a little piece of plastic, none of that. But Two-Face was a special case. You see, his gun was part of the sculpt. It wasn't removable. He was the only bad guy toy I owned who was fucking strapped. He had the heater. He kept that motherfucking thing on him. He literally had no choice. So Two-Face was obviously a mainstay. He was very crucial to a lot of my action figure plot lines. He was a key figure in the lore. So watching this movie was like finally meeting my hero. And Tommy Lee Jones is absolutely insane as this character. They don't even bother trying to show us his origin story. They just said, fuck it, he's Two-Face. He has two faces. Who fucking cares? Val Kilmer also takes over as Batman, and I have to say, the biggest surprise in this movie is that I actually like him more than Michael Keaton. He's campy while still trying to be edgy and cool. It's like Gotham in this movie is a setting that's full of absurdity. It's a city of insanity. But he's the most stoic and serious guy in the story, and it makes him more interesting. This creates a Batman that's very reminiscent of Batman from the Brave and the Bold cartoon, for instance. Like, a lot of his line delivery felt like edgier Adam West. Personally, I was all for it.
Trauma powerful enough to create an alternate personality leaves the victim.
In a world where normal rules of right and wrong no longer apply.
Exactly.
What people are always in a hurry?
Russian people? Russians!
Right again.
Also, this movie features Queen of AMC, Nicole Kidman. So this movie automatically gets a few extra points because, yeah, heartbreak does feel good in a place like this. What am I supposed to go to Regal?
This thing is nicer than my apartment.
Oh, no, stop. It's a miracle I even like this movie because honestly, it's fucking stupid. Like for one, this might be the movie with the most Dutch angles I've ever seen. I won't go through and count, but I'm pretty sure it has more Dutch angles than non-Dutch angles. And at that point, I just have to respect it. Like, this is now the movie's identity. And I'm serious, this movie does not give a fuck. It opens with Batman saying he's gonna get McDonald's.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
This is the first line in the movie. Then he flies through the sky fighting Two-Face, who doesn't even have a split personality. He's just a crazy murderer. There is no other half. Now they're gonna crash into the Statue of Liberty, which is in Gotham now, because who gives a fuck? And we don't have time to stop now. We have to introduce the best character in the whole movie. Jim Dick Print Carrey. I am not exaggerating when I say that this is one of my favorite Batman villain performances of all time. His supervillain plot is to control everybody's brainwaves with this mind-controlled dildo. And of course, he needs Two-Face's help to do this, and they create this ridiculous duo that I absolutely loved watching. It's like a supervillain buddy cop duo. It's like Pinky and the Brain. I love these guys.
That looks like fun. Let me try. Let me try. Out of the vest. Reach way back. Ow!
Every scene feels like a parody of scenes from the previous movies that we've watched. Batman and Nicole Kidman flirting feels like whoever wrote it saw the previous Keaton romance scenes and was like, you know what? That shit's stupid. But I can probably write something even stupider. Like, listen to this. Batman starts the movie by showing up in front of her and being like, hey, you're pretty smart. I'm gonna go save people from Two-Face. See you later. And then he leaves. That small interaction is enough to get her so insanely horny that she changes into lingerie, turns on the bat signal, and tries to fuck him on the roof of Gotham PD.
Oh, we could give it a try. I'll bring the wine. You bring your scarred psyche.
No! And then later he's thinking to himself, hey, she was kinda into me. Maybe I should go hit on her when I'm Bruce Wayne. And they do hit it off a little bit, and they go on a date, but then she says, sorry, I'm into another guy, his name is Batman. And Bruce is like, does this count as a win? I can't really tell, but I'll go along with it. And like, why did she agree to go on the date? Have you ever taken someone out on a date, and in the middle of the date they say, hey, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work out, I'm kinda seeing somebody else? Because I have. So anyway, he hangs out with her as Bruce for a few more days, and he talks about his deep, irreparable emotional trauma, and I guess this kind of does it for her, because the next time he shows up as Batman, she says, hey Batman, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of into somebody else. But it's all worth it, because it leads to the single greatest Batman reaction I've ever seen in my life.
I understand.
And that is precisely why I like this movie. Because like us, Batman is just along for the ride, and he's enjoying every second of it. And I know I may be watching this movie wrong, but at the same time, I do think that everybody here is in on the joke. It's no surprise that for years people hated on this movie saying it was too campy, but I think those people are cowards. One thing I can complain about with this movie though is that the theme song is just not as good as the previous one.
It's alright, like.
This film overall definitely feels less iconic, and it doesn't help that it might be the single reason why we don't have Robin in a movie anymore, unless it's a cartoon. And honestly, I don't know why that is. I have no clue why filmmakers are so afraid of Robin. They're more scared of him than they are of Wonder Woman. You're telling me that she gets to do shit like this and I'm not allowed to see Nightwing on the big screen? The public opinion that most average, everyday people have had for the last few decades is that Batman is epic and cool, but Robin is dumb and gay.
R. What's that stand for?
Ram Ranch, it rocks.
They even tried to make him badass in this movie, and it didn't work. He rides a motorcycle, he's edgy, he has a little earring, he wants to fuck hot chicks. But alas, I think the concept of a young pantsless orphan shacking up with an insane billionaire might be too much for the average homophobic moviegoer. I will say, though, that the scene we're shown to establish how cool Robin is one where he dries laundry in a really cool way. I don't really know how else to say that to you, so I'll just show you.
You are gay!
And really, the greatest cultural impact this movie had is probably that it's the reason for the existence of the greatest movie song ever made, Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Yes, this song made it big because of Batman Forever. This song has been my ringtone for as long as I've owned a cell phone. Something about Seal singing a passionate and legitimately good love song with the fucking bat signal behind him just touches something deep within my soul. It's a level of stupid that has embedded itself into my DNA, and it's all for a film that before today, I have had no memory of watching. It's like I was destined to like this movie. I was the Batman Forever fan that never existed, but now I am reborn. So yeah, this movie might not be very good, but I like it. And honestly, all the Batman movies from this era are just a different type of insane, and it's just a matter of which ones you like and which ones you don't. This one leans into the cringe in a way that I can enjoy, and I love that. So 7 out of 10, goofy movie. Now, of course, we have to rank Val Kilmer's Batman, and overall I can say that Kilmer is an acceptable version of both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Firstly, he doesn't really have the level of obsession that I want from the character, but in a world like this, I think it works fine for Batman to be more of a straight man amongst a world of freaks. Though I would like to see more of a difference between Bruce and Batman in this story. They're kind of just the same guy. Like, I can't imagine anybody has trouble figuring out that these are the same person. So again, not the best, but far from the worst. He's just acceptable. As for his Batman, we can run through things pretty quickly. He's definitely as cool as he can be in what is essentially a movie for kids. He unfortunately doesn't get any scenes to be that cool of a guy, but he does exude an acceptable aura of coolness. He has white boy swag. I really do like that him suiting up is significant enough to get a montage. I really like that the movie starts with this. I haven't seen a suiting up montage since Daredevil, and I didn't realize how much I appreciate that in a superhero movie. We gotta go back to doing this. Also, his voice is fine for this movie, but not quite imposing enough for Batman in my opinion. Again, acceptable, but it didn't blow me away. However, one thing that definitely reduces Kilmer's Batman swag is that he always has his damn mouth open. Like, this scene here is almost badass where he's running through the fire, but then he's standing there like this. Skill-wise, his Batman is at least competent, but again, he doesn't get a lot of time in this movie to really flex on anybody. He doesn't get a scene to really outclass any bad guys. He's just kind of normal. He's like your standard Batman. Oh, and his gadgets are pretty cool, but I'm only saying that because I owned all of them as a kid. Most importantly, though, the best thing about Val Kilmer's Batman is that he's the first Batman that is focused on not killing anyone. Seriously, it's the first time he brings it up as a rule.
You got a fix on Two-Face? Then I'm gonna kill him.
Killing Two-Face won't take the pain away. It'll make it worse.
This is literally the bare minimum, and it's shocking to me that this is the first time it comes up and is adhered to, and he just killed Two-Face. For a minute, I thought this Batman was finally going to adhere to this very simple but very important rule, but at the end of the movie, he does indirectly kill Two-Face. I am going to still count this as a kill, but he will get points for making an attempt. Again, it's pretty hard to find an on-screen Batman that doesn't kill anybody, so I'm going to take what I can get. Overall, he is the definition of a normal, unremarkable, but mostly inoffensive Batman. So I'm going to give him a very respectable rank of B. And just for consistency's sake, B is now going to just be Batman tier. As long as you are a passable, normal Batman, you're going to at least get a B. At last, we reach the final movie for this era of Batman, the infamous Batman and Robin. Now, in contrast with the other films in this video, I've actually seen Batman and Robin quite a few times. You might think I'm insane by saying this, but I have a good excuse. This was the one Batman movie I actually owned as a kid. I even played the video game. Bat 3-point turn. But there's a reason this movie's so infamous. If Batman Forever went to I Don't Give a Fuck University, Batman and Robin is the dean. This movie is kind of a fever dream. We fully come all the way back around to Adam West insanity. And honestly, I'm pretty happy about it. Sometimes when I make these videos, I have to sit through movies that don't make me feel anything at all. Absolute nothing movies. Movies I don't even remember watching. But these last two Batman movies definitely leave an impression.
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
This is the first line in the movie. I mean, it's perfect. The delivery, the line itself, it's all so bad. George Clooney is our Batman this time around, and he's definitely trying to channel his own version of Adam West here. Val Kilmer was still attempting to make Batman seem somewhat cool, but that is completely gone here. I also think it's very interesting that across every one of these early Batman movies, all the way from Batman 89 to Batman and Robin, the same two guys are playing Commissioner Gordon and Alfred. That is truly an inhuman level of dedication. Keep in mind that these guys were willingly a part of this movie. And they said, yeah, I'll do another one. This movie also stars Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and she's fine. Like, she's here, I guess. See, her problem is that she has the same subplot as Catwoman and Riddler before her. She's a loser with glasses who's kind of a baddie, if we're being honest, but then her boss kills her, and she's resurrected, and then she gets her revenge. Oh, they also both get revenge by kissing their boss to death. But also, she has a personal vendetta against Bruce Wayne because she approaches him with an insane scheme to destroy society, and then he says, no! It's literally the same shit we've already seen. Snooze, I'm here for the real star of the show. This movie's got fucking Arnold as the legendary Mr. Freeze. I truly love this character. Everything he says is insane.
In this universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes.
That's not true. That's not true.
Now, unfortunately, while this movie is hilarious, it is sadly not very good. I could excuse the approach of Batman Forever, but everything I see in this movie makes me question how we got to this point. And you see, the reason for this is actually pretty simple.
It's a film for 12-year-olds.
With each film, they're clearly trying harder and harder to market towards children, but the problem is that these movies are still kind of uncomfortable and very sexual.
Joygasm!
This movie also does what every bad superhero movie does. It crams in too much shit. There are 3 villains in this story, and they even decide to throw in Batgirl for good measure. There's definitely too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, when I turned this on, I forgot Bane was in this movie. You can tell the people who made this were like, okay, Poison Ivy's cool, but she needs to have a big bad guy next to her for Batman to fight. So they just looked at Bane and they're like, hey, he's a big guy.
For you.
No, stop it. Not yet. I think watching this movie while sober is definitely not the way to go. You are not meant to raw dog this film, because it breaks under any amount of scrutiny. Just the opening of this movie is baffling on its own. Batman and Robin suit up, we get some nice close-ups of their cocks and balls to start the film. I think more superhero movies need this, I'm not complaining. Then Batman drives off without Robin. I don't know why, I kind of expected them to like leave together. It's kind of rude of him, to be honest.
Don't wait up, Al.
I'll cancel the pizza.
Oh, Alfred, it's okay, man. We can still get pizza. Oh, shit, bro really wanted that pizza. Then they get to a museum where Mr. Freeze is breaking in to steal a diamond. And he doesn't want the diamond for its monetary value. He needs diamonds because they power his ice suit. Now, here's where things get a little confusing. Mr. Freeze kicks Batman's ass because Batman honestly kind of sucks in this movie. Then Mr. Freeze summons his ice skating goons, because of course he has ice skating goons. That's not what I'm here to criticize. This makes sense to me. Mr. Freeze then escapes into his funny little car, which I suppose was always there. Now hold on. In the earlier scene, when he enters the museum, he's coming down these little stairs to enter the room with the diamond. But his funny little car is already there on the opposite side of the room. So he didn't drive it here. How did it get here? How did the funny little car get there? So anyway, Batman follows Mr. Freeze into the stupid little car, but it turns out that it's actually a spaceship. Now, okay, it's fine. He can have a spaceship. I accept this. However, Mr. Freeze then freezes Batman, traps him in the spaceship, and just flies out of it.
Let's fly now!
But what I'm questioning is, why did he get in the spaceship? Was he trying to lure Batman into a trap? Was he trying to get some air so he could fly away easier? Only God knows. I don't even have time to really think about it because now Batman and Robin are surfing out of the spaceship. This is fine. This is something they would do. I accept this. Then they slowly chase Mr. Freeze until Mr. Freeze hits Batman with a door. This is, of course, Batman's one true weakness. Now that Batman is stunned by the door, Mr. Freeze fucking obliterates Robin and leisurely takes the diamond from him. Batman, of course, can't do anything about this. I have to remind you, he was hit by a door. Oh my god, the stupid car's back. This was just the opening scene, and it 100% consisted of shit just happening. And the movie doesn't even stop there. The next scene shows us Poison Ivy and her boss. He does this presentation for these UN guys, and then he says, oh, excuse me, gentlemen, I just have to go talk to Uma Thurman over there. And then he fucking kills her! Like, you have house guests in the other room. Is this really the time? And then Poison Ivy comes back to life, transforms into a sexy lady, kills her boss, and then burns down the lab with all of her plants inside.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Then Mr. Freeze has to explain his evil plan. He's, of course, stealing diamonds so that he can use them to power a big freeze ray to freeze the whole city and hold it ransom so that the government will give him money so that he can develop a cure for his dying wife. He's breaking into places and stealing extremely valuable diamonds so that he can ask for money later.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Why don't you just sell the diamonds? He's clearly using smaller diamonds for the suit. He only wants the big ones for big stupid guns. Just sell the fucking diamonds. You don't need to do all this. Hell, why don't you just steal the money? You're already stealing. Why is this movie so stupid? And why is the music so good? Again, I know I'm not supposed to think about the plot too much because this is a movie for babies. But there's also a scene with the gorilla striptease followed by Batman and Robin attempting to pay for Poison Ivy's sexual services.
$5 million. That's a utility belt, not a money belt. $6 million.
$7 million.
A bat credit card!
And like, I want to know what Poison Ivy's goal is in this scene. She's not trying to steal anything or hurt anybody. This scene exists purely to be horny. We never even get to see what the point of the scene would have been because Mr. Freeze shows up in the stupid fucking car again. Oh, and another thing. You might be shocked to hear that this movie also has a subplot that explores the inevitability of death and how one can prepare for the death that will one day come for us all.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Between the scenes of absolute fucking tomfoolery, we have a subplot where Alfred is dying, doesn't want to tell anybody, and wants to make sure that Batman and Robin are ready to face a world without him. I just want to remind you that this is a movie that has Looney Tunes sound effects. This movie has a strict formula of showing us the most insane shit you've ever seen, followed by scenes that are so normal they're equally absurd.
We've been going out for over a year now. And... okay, here it goes. I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I really thought I was gonna see Batman Returns and this movie as much of the same, but that movie had a good balance of absurdity and atmosphere, plus the performances were a lot of fun and the art direction was nice and crunchy. But this movie is honestly kind of like bad candy. I can eat a piece or two, but any more than that and I'm gonna get a tummy ache. The performances have all taken a huge nosedive. Everybody seems very uncomfortable with the fact that they're in this movie. It's also not funny enough to be entertaining the whole way through, and I really can just say that the movie definitely overstays its welcome. So yes, this is the first one that I'm gonna put on the worst superhero movies tier list. It's at least iconic enough to deserve the delicious garbage tier, but not good enough to get anything more than a 2 out of 10. Of course, before we leave, we have to break down George Clooney's Batman, and I'll make it short. He fucking sucks. He has none of Clooney's charisma. You can tell this is just a paycheck for him. And I mean, honestly, can you blame him? Overall, his Bruce Wayne is just bored George Clooney. As for his performance under the cowl, it's just the same. He has absolutely no cool factor to speak of, and he isn't nearly as funny as Val Kilmer or Adam West to make up for it. He also loses like every fight, so he isn't getting any points for being competent. He spends the entire movie getting his ass kicked and arguing with Robin. Like, bro, control your fucking kid. And honestly, do I even need to bring up his costume? Oh, hey, Batman, how's it going? Oh my god, he has nipples. The only thing that he has over the other Batmen, the only thing that gets him points, is that he actually, finally, doesn't fucking kill anybody. I am truly shocked by this. It took this long, but we finally get a Batman who makes a point to not kill a single person. Why are we only just now getting it from this Batman, the worst one so far? Regardless though, this is not enough to save him, so George Clooney's Batman is getting placed in the D tier.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
No, you ain't.
Now, I'd be lying if I said that these movies weren't at least a lot of fun. I haven't seen a lot of them, and I really feel like I got to fill out my Batman bingo card a little bit. But at the same time, they aren't exactly accurate. Even by 1989, Batman comics had matured a lot, and despite that, all we got for nearly a decade was Saturday morning Scooby-Doo bullshit. If I was a comic book fan in the early 90s and this is all I had to watch, I'd be fucking pissed. So years later, did Batman fans eventually get Batman movies that are actually good? No, they suck. That's right, bitches, get ready for the next video. The Nolan trilogy. Worse than you remember? Give it the why it sucks thumbnail. Yeah, fuck you, Christopher.
I don't give a shit.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. They're actually pretty good.